It's rock and roll.
Welcome to the Look It's Rock and Roll podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill. I've got Bill and Andy back, which means we're going to be doing a W.A.S.P cast. And before we get into that, Andy picked up some cool shit this week. Andy, what did you purchase? Tell us, show us.
I found a House of Lords 45, you know. Oh, Gene produces. So I pull it out and I'm like, dude, it's all right. I can take this. He goes, what is it? I go, House of Lords. He's like, what is that? I go, it's an 80s band. Gene produced it. He's like, yeah, go ahead and take it. So I threw it to the side. So the guy didn't even care. So I started going through him, and he's going, and he's like, the guy's like 60 something years. So he had to be in his late 60s, and he's having a hard time walking. He's doing this all by himself. He's having a hard time. And I'm like, good. He's going slower. So I'm like, flying. So I got through about 98% of the 45s, and I found that one.
That's a bummer.
So then I turn around, and then I said, dude, I think since you helped me, let me look through. I'm going to help you. So I helped the guy putting the stuff in a U-Haul truck. He's got like a half U-Haul truck, and he's got it filled all the way from the top to the bottom with 45s. No lie, it's insane. So I said, good luck doing that. He goes, yeah, it's going to take me a year. So I turned around and said, okay. So next year I started looking around. Next year I find this crate. And I said, man, what is this? So I'm like, no way, album flats. So I said, So they were kind of pushed forward in the crate. So I grabbed the first one out of the back. I think it was like Metal Church. So I'm like, Metal Church. What are the odds of that? That's kind of interesting, right? Pull the next one, Bon Jovi. Whatever. So I started flicking through these things, and next one I push them all back. So next, bingo. I couldn't believe it. I saw the side of it, and I couldn't believe it. A Headless Children flat. Those are the ones that they would stick in the windows, stick up in record stores back in the day. And I'm like, no way, I can't believe it. I just can't believe this. I'm like, what are the odds that you find these kind of things, in 2021, So
yeah,
I can't.
And that's pretty obscure as well. What do you think of it once you've seen Metal Church, I think you're onto a pretty good stack of flats.
Well, it's a funny thing. I was hoping there would be like 50 of these things because there were like a bunch of Metal Church, a bunch of Bon Jovi, a bunch of. They had like I said, there's like milk crate, and they were full from top to bottom. So I ended up grabbing, I think they had like 4 or 5 of the W.A.S.P ones, so I grabbed them. I'm like, I got to grab them, you know what I mean? I can't let that stuff go. So anyway, so that was that. So go back on late last night, I'm like sitting here watching TV, scrolling through, and next bang, W.A.S.P. W.A.S.P signed, don't know 100% if it's legit, the person says. And the guy says, I didn't know it was a guy at first, and it said like $40, and then it had scratched out and it had 25. And I said, no way. So I said, I looked at it and I'm like, man, that's a real signature without a doubt, because I'll explain that in a second. Because usually I don't like to buy autograph stuff unless I was there or done it, on Blackie's, how hard Blackie is to get an autograph. It's like impossible. So now, especially nowadays. So anyways, the guy has this Unholy Terror flat, but it's like 20 by 20 or 16 by 16. And I said, is it available? Yes. Would you take like $20 for it? Guy goes, sure. I couldn't get my butt fast enough. I had to drive another hour today to go get it. So when I showed up, I cannot believe this. It's a flat, but it's like a poster flat, but it's bigger than a regular flat. And believe it or not, it's in a plastic and stuff. So I'm not going to it's already sealed and stuff. So I'm like, but look at it, right? I don't know. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see Blackies? Now, you could think, it's one of those things. You don't know 100% sure if it's real or not. So, well, the reason why I say, well, it's cool too, because it's even got it's got a little thing for Hellerado and Double Live Assassins in the bottom too. It's got a little, promo for them too. So I'm like, I've never seen something like this. So I'm like, hey man, this is cool. I mean, I've never seen it, but anyways. So the only reason why I literally think it's real is because today happens to be the last time I saw W.A.S.P live in United States. So today, in 2010, I saw the Beast of Babylon tour in a place called Foxborough, or Foxborough Stadium when the Patriots play. They had like a little, I don't know if it's still there, but they had a little, little concert hall thing they made. They call it Foxborough Live or something like that. So anyways, I saw the Beast of Babylon tour today. It was the last time I saw W.A.S.P in 2010. So, but the thing is, you know how hard it is to get Blackie's signature, blah, blah, blah. So me and an old friend were hanging around. So next thing you know, Blackie comes out. So I grabbed his W.A.S.P Inside the Electric Circus, what do they call them, with the paper ones? You know, those paper...
Digipack.
Thank you, Digipack. So I grabbed his Digipack, and I said, we ran up there and said, hey, dude, can the guy come? Can you get... So the guy went out, said, hey, Black, guess he told Black, hey, it's two guys standing outside freezing. Come on. So Blackie came out. He says, the security guy or bus driver, whatever the guy said, he'll come out, but there's no pictures allowed. And just you know what I mean? Just be cool. Okay, no problem. So next you know, I'm down at the bottom of the bus. The guard's like one step up on the bus. Blackie comes out and he's wearing a mask. He's, you know, we're legitimately wearing the mask that people are wearing now. Steps down like 3 steps, says, come on up. So I step 3 steps up, and he looks at the CD. I go, yeah, I know it's not your favorite, but will you sign this for me? But I said, this is what I grew up on. It's a nice, great show, of course, that stuff. And great, thank you very much. And I hope that you guys come back. And he goes, oh, yeah, we'll return. If I only knew then what he said that now, because they've never returned, which is sad. But come to the conclusion, so we can get going on this whole unholy terror, is that, you know, the signature there and the signature here, I mean, they're like perfectly, I mean, I don't know how good you can see on that camera right there, but they are perfectly matched. So I'm like, today.
Yeah, and someone, I think if someone was trying to fake it on, you know, a piece of merch, they would have done it in silver Sharpie so you could actually see it easily, you know, yeah. Because that pretty much blends in. Let's get into this album. You know, yeah. That's a long preamble. And I want to talk about this album because I've enjoyed the hell out of getting caught up with Dying for the World. I got this when it came out, just randomly, again, being down at Amoeba and flipping through the W.A.S.P section, and I hadn't been following them at that time, so it was like a surprise. So soon after Unholy Terror, it's like, oh, next year, another album. Oh my God. And I remember getting it home, putting it in, and just being rocked. And the how solid this album was is my overwhelming memory of the album. Bill, you know, what for you is your overwhelming, you know, just thoughts about Dying for the World and your first impressions of it as an album?
Well, mine's very similar because, you know, I've had it for a couple months, but I just listened through it, and where the one thing is there's nothing really outstanding on it, but pretty much from beginning to end, it's just a good solid W.A.S.P album. I mean, you put it on and you hear elements of the first album, you hear elements of Headless Children, you hear elements of Still Not Black Enough, you know, and it's really good. You know, that's the thing about it is for the time it came out, you know, of course, this was probably like the new metal age, you know, where people were either listening to, you know, Limp Bizkit or going into Korn and stuff like that. But it's just a really solid W.A.S.P album. And I mean, you know, there's no big boom on it, but it's just good and solid all the way through.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that you touch on now will become one of the refrains from all of the albums that I talk about going forward, is that it punches kind of those eras of W.A.S.P that are sonically familiar. So you're like, oh, first album, Electric Circus, or Headless, or Still Not Black Enough, or Crimson. It's kind of like you can often peg songs to an era, or multiple parts of a song. Oh, that part of the song sounds like it, you know, comes from this era. But this is, for me, is the last album that's just completely consistent and original in some ways. And it's the first, well, it was, I think, the only album with Daryl Roberts on guitar. So now Chris is long gone, obviously. Blackie's got Daryl in, Mike Duda is on bass, and Frankie Benali on drums. Okay, Elvis, what's your 2-minute memory of picking up Dying for the World back in the day, since I'm sure you were following everything and you knew exactly?
No, it's just you're right, though, man. This album, man, it's got to be one of my favorites from that time of the 2000s. You know what I mean? at that point, right, Wasp Nation was, alive and going. So now you could kind of keep up with stuff and you could find out what was coming out. And of course, there was things in the news, 9/11 happened, right? At this point, 9/11 happens. So Blackie was very outspoken about the whole 9/11 thing, about how, he grew up in New York. He was there 2 weeks before that. He had saw the Twin Towers, stuff like that. And he was, very upset and he was very, can't believe it and all this stuff. So Blackie was in it like news, rock news and just regular news as this, saying whatever about 9/11 and stuff. And that he was going to make an album, and this is it. This thing came out what less than a year after?
No, it was about 14 months after Unholy Terror. It was June 2002, so that's roughly 9 months after 9/11 itself. So
yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's pretty good. And I'm, when I got it, man, I put it out just like Bill and you said, man, totally solid all the way through. I was like, man, this sounds. It does. It's got kind of a headless kind of sound, but it doesn't, because you get Chris has got his own, the guitar work is Chris is Chris. You know what I mean? There's only one Chris Holmes. There's only one Ace Frehley. There's only one Chris Holmes. There's only, you know what I mean? There's only one Angus Young. You know how it goes. That's how it is. But I think again, this thing is just this album. I love this album. I'm telling you right now. I know we're gonna go through all the stuff, but when this came out, I slapped it in. I'm like, man, this is cool. This is way different than the Unholy Terror, and it's got away from the kind of got away from KFD kind of thing. This went back to rock, just plain rock. So
yeah, this one made me feel like a teenager again when I first heard it. When back in the day when you just listened to the full albums, and you generally enjoyed the full albums. There'd be a couple songs maybe that you didn't care for as much, but you weren't picking them apart or dissecting them like we do nowadays, because we were living them at the time. So it was just an album that reminded me of Last Command and being that age when I first heard those albums back in the day. Overall, I think the production of the album's pretty good, but I love the drumming. I hate the sound of the drums. It sounds like Frankie Banali's hitting wet cardboard or pudding pans at times. And I really think that detracts from the overall album in some ways, in that the separation isn't that good, even though the songs are that good. It's like the production suffered a bit, and maybe that's just my ears. We'll talk about that a bit more as we go through the songs, I guess. So let's dig into the song by song thoughts, starting with Shadowman. Bill, let's start with you.
Well, the first thing I noticed about Shadowman is the intro on it. I was sitting there going, okay, this is starting to sound like, kind of like KFD, kind of like Unholy, more like, I'm not Unholy, but Still Not Black Enough, where it was a really digital guitar sound. And I was going, oh, this isn't good. This isn't good. But then, there's one point where in the intro where you're hearing him play the riff, and then you're getting the idea of the timing of the riff in your head. And then all of a sudden everything else comes in and you realize you were completely off with the timing. So, where everything else comes in and then you realize, okay, well, this is how that riff sounds. And it's a cool change leading into it. But the composition itself is wonderful. But I didn't like the rhythm guitar sound on it. The drums were sounding kind of digitally like the previous albums, but the lead guitar on it and the vocals, the only thing about the vocals is, people bag on Paul Stanley for having 3 harmonies of Paul's singing in a chorus, and then you get 6 Blackies going through these. It'd be great if there was somebody else throwing in just a little different voice to make choruses sound like more than one person singing. But other than that, it's a really great song.
Yeah, Andy, as an opening track, what do you think of Shadowman?
Oh, dude, man, you went down because like I said, back then back then now that like Wasp Nation was up and running and all that kind of stuff, the website's now up and running, and so you knew this stuff was coming. So you go down to the store, and of course you're there, and you're like, look at it, and you're like, interesting. No guys, nobody from the band on CDs again. Still kind of drives me nuts a little bit, but I'm like, oh, here we go, though. Dying for the World, and he talked about the 9/11 and stuff would come up. And next, you get your car, you slap in that CD, and here we go. You know what I mean? This ain't la 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 la. Slap it in, let's play, baby. To me, man, Shadowman is like get on the highway, and here we go for a ride. You know what I'm saying? You did Shadow, you take let's go for a ride. That's what this reminds me of. Slap it in, and let's go for a ride. Get that riff started going. Hit the highway, and here we go for a ride.
Nice, because that's exactly what I wrote in my notes. Jump in a tank and go blow some shit up. So those are my notes. But on this one, I think, once you get past the initial intro, it's got echoes of Kiss's God of Thunder coming through on those riffs. But thankfully, he merges, the echoes of kind of that God of Thunder sort of vibe into something that's really fun, catchy as hell, and powerful. So that's where, I see the tank. Let's go. Boom. Load that whatever millimeter cannon up and just go shoot some stuff. No one else got the Kiss vibe in that one? Was that just me hearing stuff? Am I listening to the right album?
I was more taken by that rhythmic change in the riff. And there's a couple other songs. I wish I could think of one of them come to my head, but it's kind of like where, you don't have to be really deep into music theory, but you hear that riff where it's still being played the same. And then when other instruments come in, it just kind of changes to where it makes it blossom a little bit. So I was kind of overtaken by that instead of finding anything to really comparison with, but it did, the dirge at the beginning of it, that I get a God of Thunder vibe from that.
All right, this is going to get interesting if anyone gets my comparisons today. Second song, My Wicked Heart. Andy, let's start with you for that one.
Oh, I like this whole album. It's very hard for me to. I know Bill gets more technical. I don't get technical, like when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like said, I'm not a player, so I don't get that. You know what I mean? That kind of tech. I just love the songs, man. It just, you know what I mean? That's how it is. I just love the songs. I don't really have anything like super technical about them. I mean, I don't know. I just love the songs. It's not like the song that I even really don't dislike on the whole album. It's still just,
Okay, I can't wait to ask you your top three from this when we get to the end. Bill, get technical on it, Bill.
Yeah.
Well, really, and that's the thing about it is it's another good solid song. All the parts are constructed well. They're performed exquisitely. And that's the thing is, where Andy had mentioned Chris, before. I don't miss Chris Holmes at all on this record because let me get his name.
He wasn't on the previous one either, so.
Well, that's the thing is, but I mean, you grew up with Chris Holmes on the first five and, then he came back and all that. But Daryl plays fantastic, and he's a clean player. He's a fast player. And, like the first couple W.A.S.P records where while Chris sounded like he was, total reckless abandon, every note was played clean. He played everything just to the point where you didn't hear dead notes and stuff like that or a bunch of passing tones. But Daryl Roberts, he tears it up on this album all the way through, and I'll probably amplify that a little bit more later, or emphasis. That's the word I was actually looking for. The only problem I have with the song is it's a skosh too long. I'm from the punk rock school or the old rock and roll school where it's like, okay, do this 4 times and then do this 4 times and then do twice for the chorus. And this apparently in Blackie's book, it's let's do 12 bars of this and then we'll do 12 bars of this and then we'll do 16 bars for a solo. And then, there was just a couple little parts that were stretched out, but because almost every song clocks in at over 5 minutes. with the exception of what's the name of
The
it?
next one.
Shoot. Yeah.
Or so.
But other than that, if they've been tightened up a little bit, they're still great at the length they are. But then you have points where a person will be hung on for 12 bars of something, and then you throw 4 more bars behind it, and then they start to lose interest. And then after you've done that 2 or 3 times throughout a song, they may lose interest completely. But I got close, but I hung in there, and the songs are just played wonderfully.
Yeah, you touch on a couple of things that are kind of my opinion about My Wicked Heart. And my notes are perfection in structure and execution. So I think it's exactly the right length. I also note that the solo is absolutely fantastic. And that's the main guitar solo. But what I like about this song the most is that it's very un-W.A.S.P. It's more like an Iron Maiden song in terms of being a galloping rocker. So it's got that kind of maidenish cadence to it, which really comes across, which with married to Blackie's vocal and the style of music just makes it a different sort of W.A.S.P song. So rather than it being a W.A.S.P song, so something that sounds like it comes off another album, it's W.A.S.Pifying a different style. So it's fresh. And that's why I really dig it. It's like unusual, it's fresh, and it's really well crafted. Yeah, like my comments, it could probably be edited down a little bit.
Well, and that's the thing is you could play this album for somebody, no images, anything like that, and people would actually think it was more European than it is an American band, because W.A.S.P did always have kind of an American rock and roll brash to them. And this one definitely does have more of a European flavor. But then again, 2001, where they were starting to deal with touring more in Europe and, less in the States and all that, that they were definitely catering to the audience that they were dealing with. Sorry,
Right.
Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay. And also too, the song too is now it's, the words and what it means by what I get off of understanding of the song is, this is the religion thing. So he's already started with the religion stuff on this song. So it's already in there already. I've lost my way. I got a wicked heart, and this and that. Here we go. Now he's having to battle within himself about the Christianity and him in the other way. So it's like a teeter-totter. So it's kind of weird that, you have Golgotha that comes out later on, and you have this song now, it's already there. So to me, we don't know this stuff, but personally, we don't know him personally, but, you go from 2002 to 2000, whatever, Golgotha, I can't remember off the top of my head, when 18 came out, right? So that's a lot of years between. So he must have been fighting this little battle between himself, for all these years, So interesting.
Well, and this is the album where he had already converted to Christianity, I think, isn't it?
Well, he'd come back because he grew up, in a born again family.
Okay,
so,
yeah. Conversion's the wrong word. So.
Yeah, he'd come back into the fold, so to speak.
Right.
But it sounds very much like he is at war. He's angry at the things that are going on, the things that are being done in the name of religion. He's angry at himself, or inside he's got a rage, and that comes through in the next song. Black Bone Torso. Last time I got called out for not reading the liner notes. This time I did. I even scanned them for proof.
I blew them up and made a big printout of them.
So I did want to read it this time because, when you go back and you look at the liner notes of some of the other ones, he is explaining his rationale behind some of the things that he's trying to express. Yeah, I think he, as an artist, wants to make it abundantly clear where he's coming from at that point in time. So we've always got these liner notes to go back to because they are legit from the time, not something that maybe you'd read about now if he was, doing interviews and whatnot. And Black Bone Torso is, about the church, about the creepers and the people wearing the frocks, abusing children and abusing that role. So he's angry. He's angry at a lot of things. Black Bone Torso, apart from I hate the snare on this one, it sounds overly sample fucked is how I put it. But on this one, appropriately, you get echoes of the horror. They're like twins.
Yeah,
Except this one's
definitely.
being painted with the same emotional vibe that the horror had, and he's got a target for that horror here, Black Bone. I mean, it's creepy. But I love how it builds, and it's more like a building Freebird that never reaches its crescendo. It just builds, it builds, it builds. It's like emotion getting to the point. Andy.
Oh, you basically hit the nail on the head. It's like, what I like too is that you can sometimes you have a hard time understanding Blackie's voice, the words sometimes. I mean, sometimes you have to go back and really read the words because sometimes his voice, you know what I mean? He's got an awesome voice, but sometimes hard to understand him. Do you guys ever get that? Like you don't understand, like he's singing something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like a Black Book voice. So I mean, that's what it too is this whole album. You can pretty much clearly hear everything he basically says, which is I like that too. Even though I go back, but yeah, you hit the nail on the head. This is like this is a horror movie song. You know what I mean? Here we go. This is definitely deep, dark, and where the hell did you come up with this?
All right, Bill. 2 minute 15 seconds. Is that punky enough for you?
Well, time doesn't equal punk. We'll put it that way. But the one thing about it is where the relation with the horror comes in. In the horror, he was the evil one. He is the thing that's going to bring you down. And then in this one, it's kind of like, shit, I'm nothing compared to these guys. You know? It's like when he's bringing in, his examples in this one, it's just like, yeah, I wasn't even, scratching the surface compared to what these guys do. And it's a great piece. And I think it's where it's short, but it's appropriate. It's a good mellow, basically setting up a scene. And then if you want to get punky, we go to the next song with 1-2 FU. So that's yeah, but I don't think that's the first time I've heard him count in a song like that. I think he's done that live before. So
yeah, but I mean, it does go back to this thing could be on KFD easily. That song it could go, Black One's supposed to go on KFD easily. Go on a horror thing, and like you just said, scratch the surface. I'm nothing. It's like you see people like, hey man, I'm a huge W.A.S.P fan, right? Yeah, I'm a huge W.A.S.P fan. Well, I got news for you. There's always somebody who's going to be a bigger fan than you are, or you, well, whatever. You know what I mean? Or has more stuff, or this and that, or they have more knowledge than you do, and stuff like that. So, oh yeah, like you said, it kind of that same way. You think you're the badass, but man, there's some people that are even deeper and weirder than you are.
Well, it's when you think you're messed up, but then you find out that you're actually pretty well adjusted, and it's the other people who are really messed up, and that's
exactly
the horror versus that. And so it leads into Hell for Eternity. And I'm going to start this one just because I want to say that quite possibly this is my least favorite W.A.S.P song, period. Stupid intro. The chorus vocal is the soundtrack to Hell for Eternity. It's fingernails on the chalkboard of my psyche. It's just mission accomplished, Blackie. Mission accomplished. It's uncomfortable, but it's also pretty damn catchy and uncomfortable, which makes it a winner. After listening to this album pretty much nonstop for the past 2 weeks, I actually started enjoying it. I mean, I feel like I've got Stockholm Syndrome or something. So, Bill, Hell for Eternity.
Yeah, this is the one that had probably the least impact on me. I mean, outside of the count-in, I guess that's his little nod to D.D. Ramone. But, yeah, it didn't really just have it. It was just kind of a fast-paced one, just getting to the next point. Because when you get to the next song, I've kind of forgotten about that one anyway. So if I'm looking at it right. Yeah, I mean, by the time Hell for Eternity's over, it's kind of like, oh, okay, so that's what that was. Just didn't have a whole lot of impact on me. Andy?
Well, he was, I don't mind the song. It doesn't bother me one bit, but I think part of the songs too is that he's so pissed because of the whole 9/11 thing that he had mentioned even like this CD, and I think another couple CDs when they went, over to Iraq and all that stuff, that they were, all those people hate rock and roll music, and they're all like, oh my God, and they said that he had shipped, or they had shipped W.A.S.P CDs for the guys in the military to put in their trucks and their tanks and stuff and play super, super loud or out places so that people could hear it. And they're like, yeah, kill him. You know what I mean? I'm a killer. I'm a thriller. I got my big gun. I think that's all it was for, Like I said, I don't get, I can't be like Bill. I'm not like Bill, like he knows the ups and downs of the guitars and all this stuff. I just head on. Here we go. You know what I mean? So for me, the song's fine. To me, the song feels like it's like one of those things, man. I'm gonna, got my hands on a gun, trigger. I'm Godzilla. Here we come. I'm bigger than you are, and I'm gonna kill you. I'm just gonna wipe you out, baby. Here it comes. That's all it is.
I don't
kill your pretty
disagree with you at
face.
Like, yep. I'm just gonna. Here we come, man. And it's like the military. The U.S. is going overseas. We're coming here to kick your ass. We're gonna make you guys pay for what you did, and here we come. That's what I think I get off of it.
Yeah, when he said that he was going to make an album to fuel the fire behind the soldiers, mission accomplished. He nailed it, especially with this one.
Yeah. So that's my take on it. Go get him.
Wasn't the first time the U.S. military used rock music to annoy people. 1989, Panama, they used Guns N' Roses against Noriega. So I think I'll take W.A.S.P, actually.
I remember that one.
So now we get to the ballad. Or really, it doesn't even feel right to call it the ballad. Andy, let's go back to you for Hallowed Ground.
Oh, my God. Jeez. I'm telling you, man, if you don't get the chills when you listen to this song, there's something wrong with you. All around, I don't care. Like you said, like Bill said, you could take this whole album, but you could take this song, and every year, when 9/11 comes up, I post this song that somebody's done on YouTube or wherever. I post this on my page every 9/11, because if you don't have the chills or tears in your eyes listening to this song, there's something wrong with you. Man, does he go deep with this song, and his voice in this song and the solo. Everything about this song is primo. Just totally awesome, off the hook. Blackie, hey man, I don't even know if he watches this stuff or whatever, but man, awesome. That's my take on it. Man, unbelievable.
Bill, is it a winner for you?
Yeah, if you don't want to call it a ballad, hang on, for some reason my mic keeps just jumping up every time I mute it. If you don't want to call it a ballad, the best name for it would be an epic, because this comes in, and all three of us are the same age where we remember that day. We remember how everybody felt. You had sadness, you had fear. You didn't know what tomorrow was going to bring. I can remember when 9/11 occurred, everybody started scrambling for gas stations, of course. And I live about 35 miles away from Wright Pat Air Force Base, and there happened to be a squad flew over while I was at this gas station, and they hit a sonic boom. So, here you'd already seen all this stuff happen that morning, and you're standing at the gas station, or you're sitting in line at a gas station. I was like 5 or 6 people back in a small town, and you hear a sonic boom go off, and you're like, oh God, what's happened now? But this song encompasses all that sadness, where the other songs basically put the flame to the fuse of the aggression, firing you up to go retaliate. This one definitely describes the sadness that everybody was feeling, and it is definitely an epic. The more I hear it, the more I can see a parallel with it and Sleeping in the Fire, where Sleeping in the Fire was it's basically an epic itself. It's not necessarily a ballad, but they're both equal, where you just really get a sensation from listening to the track, and I think it's probably the masterpiece of the album.
Yeah, I think it's also one of the masterpieces of Blackie's career.
We all remember where we were too, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as most people are at work. I happen to be at work at the time, and I I never used to get up and move. Like I used to be in the area, but I never went out to like they had a cafeteria. I would never go out to the cafeteria. I just never did. I don't know. I just never did. Usually just stayed in the office, my areas and stuff. And for some strange reason, that morning, it's just weird. That morning, I go into there, and there's people getting food or whatever, coffees and stuff like that. And next, they like every place has got a TV on, just they got the news on or whatever. And next, they're reporting it, and you're watching it like live happen. Bang, and next, I go running down the hall. They go into the office and tell me, "Oh my God, a plane just hit one of the towers." They're like, "What? What?" I'm like, "Yeah." So a bunch of us went into the, to the cafeteria, and next, here comes the second one, bang, and then everybody's like, "Uh-oh!" So everybody in the caf, everybody around us is like, "Something's wrong." So actually, we go back. My boss happened to be at home. He's boss. He's like, "Go home." He goes, "I don't know what's going on. Everybody, get your stuff. Go home to your family. Call your family. Tell them what's going on. Go home." So that's how weird it was, So.
Yeah, I mean we all know know what happened, and to understand the inspiration that he took, I think makes a song like this more powerful than Sleeping in the Fire, because we don't know what his inspiration was for that, but we can feel the inspiration because we were all there watching TV. Being in San Francisco, that was one of the destinations for one of the flights, that didn't make it, and so I feel the pain and the anger in this song every time I hear it, but I also hear that my head is bludgeoned but unbowed. Great vocal, great lyrics, and I love the keyboard sprinkling in the back. And there's some good keyboards throughout this album. They're just subtly in the background, providing that little bit of tinkle where it really needs to sparkle a little bit. So. Fantastic song, one of the best of his career.
And the other thing too is coming, those the guys who people got the ones who did in the plane, they jumped the border from Canada, they stayed in Maine, the night before. That's where Kim's from. I actually know where the hotel they stayed at. We know where it is. The Walmart they went to buy the stuff is right down the street. We've been in that Walmart and stuff like that. And then they flew from Boston. They somehow get through. You know what I mean? So I'm like, man, this isn't even, I know it's not tragically here because it happened in New York, but those guys left for Boston, which makes it even kind of creepier for us on that part of it. You know what I mean? It's just very, what a weird day, and change everybody's lives forever. Our lives have changed. Everything's changed forever since that happened. It's just, great song though, unbelievable. And Blackie said that. He said he went to Ground Zero. I think he said 2 or 3 weeks after, everything, whatever, when people could kind of go. I don't know. He just said he went a couple of weeks afterwards and just couldn't believe it, So,
yeah, I still want to go to the reflecting pool. I went to the World Trade Centers way back, been there, looked up them. So I've been back to that part of New York since. Let's move on into Revengeance, because that's a very kind of interesting song. Bill.
The big vibe I get from Revengeance is I find a real close connection to Hellion with it. It almost just seems like it's structured, not necessarily lyrically, but the music, it just seems like it's almost a parallel to Hellion. As a matter of fact, I was getting ready to get in the shower earlier, and it's like I'm hearing it play, and I'm just kind of going, yeah. And it's like, and it fit. It's basically structured almost identical to Hellion, and I couldn't get past that really. But I mean, again, wonderful playing. The solos are great. The vocals are fantastic, and what you'd mentioned before about the keys are kind of you said sprinkled through that. There's no big Uriah Heep moment. But there's also the Uriah Heep moment where it's just kind of laying in under everything, keeping everything moving. And this song's no exception. Andy?
Yeah, it's. I was trying to find a liner note because he talks about Revengeance in the song. I think he just says, where did it go? I lost it. This thing. So I love reading this stuff, but it's so small. It's just, well, I basically I think he said, whatever, you know what it means, basically. You know?
Well, while you look for that, I'll tell you what it means. I've been watching a lot of air power documentaries lately. Each episode's dedicated to a single warplane. And this one, if I shut my eyes, this song is the soundtrack to the A-10 Thunderbolt, better known as the Warthog. And you could just see it delivering justice to the ground while listening to this song. So you could, if he was writing for troops, this is the song for the close air or ground support air wing. And you can feel the guitar necks being strangled on this, but this is like a latter W.A.S.P sound. You can almost hear Bob Kulick playing the guitar on the intro with his sound before the big fat guitars kick in. So again, I shut my eyes, I see warthogs unleashing hell and fury on a target.
Yeah, to me, that's the same thing. You know, it's basically for the troops. It's time for revenge. It's time to go get them. You know,
vengeance and revenge in one shot. There you go.
Yeah. Basically, let's go get them and all that. Yep, that's how I look at it. I just couldn't find out.
Which is an interesting segue into the next song, "Trail of Tears," and now we shift gears completely. Bill.
Yeah, I really didn't know until reading the liner notes that he had any Native American heritage, but I mean, I vaguely remember, the Trail of Tears, and I've learned more and more and more about it as I've grown older. But it's really a great perspective on what the suffering that the Cherokees had to go through when migrating against their will, and some dying along the way. As far as the music it fits the lyrics perfect, and another great guitar solo, and I really just can't say any more about it than that.
Yeah, what I find really interesting about the music is that single drum kind of evokes a Native American music, when they're again, it's ignorant, I guess, that the image I get is from the movies, the shaman with the one drum, single striking of the drum. And I don't know if that is based in reality on Native American culture or whatnot, but it's just very clear where the inspiration comes from. It. The liner notes, again, help you to connect Blackie's story that he's trying to tell. And again, it comes from a place of anger and sadness, that it is a story that's being learned more about, but also, some of the inspiration, again, tomorrow never knows. And he mentions it in the liner notes that he'd been listening to Revolver. And of course, that's a song on there, but also a great line, tomorrow never knows. Ultimately, it feels like a very long build up to the next song, though. Andy, Trail of Tears.
Oh, I love this song. You hit the nail on the head again. And, the drum thing. I love how the drums sound on this one. It's totally different song compared to the rest of the album. Most of the album's got some kind of theme to it, and then this song just goes to, again, he's part. Now we find out that he's got Native American Indian in him. Learn history. Oh, did we lose him? Did we lose him?
Lose who?
Lose who? Oh, we're all here. Keep going.
Lost Bill. They don't even see him anymore. So
I just changed a mode on here. Am I back now? Check.
There you go. There you are.
I can see me.
Yeah. It's interesting because you learn something too. You know what I mean? It's just not all like, go get them, kill them. This stuff. You actually learn something from this song when you read the liner notes and understand what happened. History. If you're not a big history guy, you learn something, how tragic those Indians' lives were, how brutal it was. Camps and this and that, and they had to go down. He says, like 5,000 had to walk this thing for 10 months. 5,000 died or something, and another 4,000 died after that. And it's just, what a horrible, you know what I mean? It's just, yeah, it's too bad. We have a thing for, what is that, self-destruction. You know what I mean? Killing each other is just ridiculous. It's just, But I do love the song. I love that beat of it. It just gives that, like you said, the beat of that American drum stuff, that sounds what they do, and I like it. I really like the song. I think well, we'll talk about tops and whatever after.
Yeah, in a couple of minutes here. So I thought this was an intro to Stone Cold Killers, which is the other ballad on the album. Bill?
Let's see. Yeah, I really like Stone Cold Killers. That's the thing about it is, the way this record is put together, it's just so cohesive that it's kind of really hard, unless you're like sitting in front of a computer looking at every track and reading all the lyrics, to really kind of pick out one from the other. I don't have any notes on it for some reason, but I did have it in my top 3. So, spoiler alert there.
Yeah, I think
I don't really have much on it.
That speaks volumes, and we'll talk about our top 3 in a minute. Andy, Stone Cold Killers.
Well, let's put it this way. We'll just read from his little line, and I just had it. Oh, what am I doing? Come on today. As it says in the song, Stone Cold Killers, my God will kill your God. The end.
Yeah.
That's again, I like the sound. I know you guys said something about the drums. Yeah, it'd be cool if the drums were turned up a little bit. But I just like the album just straight through. It just, you know what I mean? It's a put it in your car and go for the ride. It's not one of those. It's not like up down. It's like put it in the car. Let's go for a ride. Except for when the other song comes on, then you got to pull over and cry. Get the shivers, shakes. So, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, while I might like different things production wise or mixing wise, I like the consistency of the album. At least it all sounds the same, and it's not it's not schizophrenic in its sound from one song to the next. So, that would be more disconcerting. I mean, I like Stone Cold Killers, Stone Cold Rage. It's so controlled, but I love the guitars particularly. And again, you get some of that subtle keyboards coming out, doubling underneath. And it's just a really nice trick to kind of change the tone of the song by doing that. And as I've said with most latter W.A.S.P albums, you always have an album where you hear Wild Child, and this is the one for me on this on this album. You just hear bits of that melody coming across, and when you've been making music for as many years as Blackie, I think you've got those melodies that you just naturally slip into, or they're close enough to what I hear in my head. So maybe it's not him, it's me. Maybe it's me, or maybe it is him. It doesn't really matter.
I assure you, it's him.
Yeah, fair enough.
I kept hearing it too, and I'm sitting there going, "Wait a second, that's Wild Child." Okay, my bad. It's just like a short chord progression in there. That's like, yeah, that's it.
It's almost like it could almost. It's like I wish you could listen to the song as we're talking about it. So you know what I mean? You kind of like, oh yeah, you can listen to that song 100 times, 100,000 times, and then we sit here, we start talking about it, and you're like, oh yeah, remember, the riffs and all that. Then you start trying to remember the riffs and the da-da-da, and you're like, sometimes you forget them, you forget the little things. You're like, yeah, damn it.
Yeah. That's like when you said about the my God will kill your God thing. I was going, yeah, that's what I meant to write down. Yeah.
Well, that's what Blackie wrote down.
Pencil a little sharp. Pardon?
Isn't that from the liner notes what Blackie wrote?
Yeah.
That's basically the premise of the song right there. So there's no confusion about what the song is about. So
well, that's the thing about it. If you go into W.A.S.P Nation and look at the lyrics on this, they need to hire a new lyric printer or whatever, because those lyrics that are on there are a train wreck. They're scattered all over. You got verses piled on in the wrong spots and all this. Because I was looking through it, I've been listening to it solid, and it's like, oh, well, I should have went and looked at the lyrics. So I kind of did that today, and I'm kind of like, you read the opening line, and you have to go 2/3 of the way down to get to the second verse, and then you come back up for a chorus, and that. But yeah, W.A.S.P Nation needs some help. That's for sure.
So does this next song, which is the final song technically on the album, Rubber Man. Andy.
I love the riff. The riff's got me. It's all I need. You know what I mean? The riff. See, like I said, I wish I could listen to it while we're talking in a way. That's what you got to do. put a little earpiece in on this side. Listen to them as you're going, you know. And if it's just got that riff, the riff thing. I love the riff thing. It's got me with the riff. I don't even care about the rest of it. Song playing, the whole riff thing. I'm in.
But what more does one need to say? I like the riff. Bill.
That's the thing, is the musical production on it is stellar. The riff's great, the solo's awesome, and then you get to the lyrics, and you might as well, if you can make more sense of it if you just go yabba dabba do through the whole thing, because the lyrics make absolutely no sense to me. I don't know what the fascination is with rubber, but you know, we called something a rubber in high school, and that doesn't fit. And the rubber that I put on my tires on my car, that doesn't fit. So I don't know where the hell he's thinking with rubber. But that's
and in England,
the lyrics are atrocious.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I don't think that's it either. So the album starts with a Shadowman and ends with a Rubber Band. It's a weird song. I mean, it's okay. It sounds a bit muddled throughout. Though I like both of you. I like the riff. And I also wrote and a great solo. So that's all I've got. A bit muddled, weird, good riff, good solo. So there you go. It's the music. So the album closes with an acoustic take of Hallowed Ground, which I think is it's great to have an alternative at a time when a lot of people were doing songs in post 9/11 world. To do something that's lighter, an interpretation of it was a good idea. So, I like it. Do I like it more than the full album version? Yes and no. I guess I like to get the Japanese bonus edition that has yet another take of it, along with a take of Trail of Tears and the karaoke version of Revengeance for me to sing along to. Bill, what's your take on that final acoustic?
You had me until you said karaoke version of Revengeance. But, this is a great addition to the album. And, usually I'm not too interested in acoustic versions of other songs. But the one thing I kept thinking as I listened is if they would have took the acoustic guitar part from this acoustic version and replaced it with the clean electric part in the actual track, that song would have been even more epic. Because that's one thing that I always have I have kind of a pet peeve about is, when let's go to our friends Kiss. When Kiss put an acoustic guitar on Forever, it sounded perfect. But then when they got the sonic boom and they played all of the clean guitar parts on an electric guitar, when it would have certainly fit better with an acoustic guitar, it makes it just sound bleh. But, I mean, not that Hallowed Ground sounds bad like that at all. But if they would have put that acoustic piece on, portion on the original track, it would have been even more epic than it is.
Nice.
And it's a good track. The acoustic version is great, but I mean, definitely the full version wins for me.
Andy, which one makes you cry harder, the acoustic or the album?
Me personally, I don't mind the acoustic one. It's fine stuff, but I want the album ones. I like the album one better. It's just got, to me, it's just got the more of the punch. It gets, it punches you in the heart a little bit more. You know what I mean? In that way, it's got that little bit of, it's just got that little extra punch you get there. Feel like, oh yeah, I know where I was, and you know what I mean, that kind of thing. So I'm saying I have a heart. Isn't that weird?
I guess with the multiple versions of Sleeping in the Fire, he had to do the same with this one, since they're kindred spirits, aren't they? There we go. All right, let's get into our top three from this album, and then our least favorite. Andy, I'm sure you're absolutely prepared to go with three songs that are your favorite from this album, and not three-way ties.
I can't. This is tough. Actually, I could get a couple of them in there. Without a doubt, Hallowed Ground's in the top. It's in there. Shadowman would be in there too. So, depending if I'm having that moment, you know what I mean? That moment I want to reflect on 9/11 thing. It's that one. When I want to put the CD in the car and go for that ride, baby. Let's just crank it up when I was 20s or 18, 16. To Shadowman, put her in, And I don't know, man. It's toss up between the three because there's a lot. I really like the Trail of Tears because it's so different from all the other stuff. It's just so different. You know what I mean? That's why I like that. It's got that beat to it. It's just totally different than what the rest of the album does. So a good mix. I like that. So there we go. I got 3.
Nice. All right, Bill, tell us your 3 and why.
Well, I had already clued into one, but Hallowed Ground, the album version, is definitely at the top. And I still think the only way they could have made it better was using that acoustic guitar. And in spite of my opinion on the length of it, My Wicked Heart would be my number 2. And Stone Cold Killers, even though I didn't have any comments on it, was my number 3. And least favorite, Rubberman.
Okay. All right. So I'm with you on My Wicked Heart. That's definitely one of my favorite ones. I mean, it's pretty clear from how I was talking about them with like the getting excited about talking about it being like a galloping Iron Maiden song. Hallowed Ground, that's a given. And I'll take the album version as well, just because I like that style. And then my third, you'll probably get from what was my long-winded, talk about the documentaries and seeing A10 Thunderballs, Revengeance. Just everything about that song I really dig. So, again, it's more difficult to pick it should be difficult to pick a least favorite, but Bill just threw one straight out there. Andy, what's your least favorite?
It's very hard with this album. This album is just so solid all the way through, and it's too bad, man. This album basically is this is one of the W.A.S.P albums that definitely got thrown under the table. It's too bad. I have a hard time even saying I have a least favorite off this album. It's very, very hard to say. I can't.
Then don't bullshit if you don't have one. Just say I don't and I won't.
I really don't have one on this one. I love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. So I have a hard time doing one. I said that I dislike Hell for Eternity, but it's not my least favorite on the album because it has a place there and it's uncomfortable, and I think music and art is supposed to make you uncomfortable or be like chalk on fingers on a chalkboard, sometimes. So if I've got to go with one, then I'm going to go with the one that sounds like something that is a recycle, and Stone Cold Killers. Even if his God can kill my God and everyone else's God, or my God can kill, it just doesn't work for me because it's something I feel like I've heard before. So I will pick a least favorite. All right. That's it. I've got editing to do. Next album is going to be Neon God. So
gonna do the Neon. I thought you were really gonna do the Neon Gods, huh?
We're gonna keep going. We've got 2 Neon Gods now. We've got to decide. We'll have to talk offline about whether we want to combine this into a single album, both volumes, or whether we want to talk about each of them in sequence. And I don't mind either way. I think it'd actually be fairer to Blackie, since he's trying to tell a story, to give both of them the shot rather than editing his work down into a single album length album, though the 2 are completely different. So we shall see. Anyway, that's it for now. That's our late. We're caught up on W.A.S.P. We'll try and get back within a month. Not leave it a couple. But for now, from Andy, Bill, myself, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Listen to some W.A.S.P.
Please.
Thank you for watching or listening to this episode. Be sure to subscribe to us, like us, or even leave us a review. You can find us and join the conversation on Facebook.